Welcome to Joy of the Hang. I'm your host, Sharon Stevenson, and today's guest is living proof that reinvention isn't just possible, it's powerful. You may know her from the world of high fashion, where she serves as a force behind the Bureau Fashion Week, producing shows across New York, LA, Miami, London, and Paris. But what you might not know is the deeply personal transformation happening behind the runway lights. Mylitta Butler has lost 160 pounds and kept it off. Her story isn't about crash diets or quick fixes. It's about reclaiming her life, rebuilding her relationship with her body, and rediscovering joy in a way that reminds all of us that change is possible at any age, in any season. As we step into a new year, a time when hope, intention, and more than a few unused gym memberships float around, Mylitta is here to help us understand what sustainable transformation really looks like. Her journey is raw, honest, and incredibly inspiring. Mylitta, welcome to Joy of the Hang.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Sharon. I'm excited to be here, excited to speak with you as you are an amazing force that is shedding amazing lights and information for your readers and your listeners, and super inspiring, which I love that about you.
And you are as well. And this is such an important topic, especially as we launch another new year, right? So many New Year's resolutions are going to be made that people want to lose that 10 pounds or lose weight. And I want to just start, if we can, with what was the catalyst to make you want to lose weight and change?
Great question. It's funny what gets our attention, right, Sharon? And I tell people sometime we all have different journeys and we all have different aha moments. For myself, I would say I remember leaving the doctor's office and feeling very, very deflated. It was a normal checkup. My doctor had told me I had high blood pressure, which I knew because clearly at 304 pounds, it kind of went with the territory, and told me I had high blood pressure. And I thought, okay, well, I get it. Most people in my family do. So I kind of just chopped it off to that. But then when he said I was borderline type 2 diabetic, and I remember sitting there and thinking, wait a minute, I had this visual in my mind and I thought, no one looks great wearing one high heel. Like, it's crazy, like that was the visual I had because I had knew someone who had had their foot amputated. And I thought, wait a minute, like I love wearing my high heels, even at this size. And I just kept thinking, I don't want that to be me. And so I left there feeling deflated because he said something to me, Sharon. He said, Mylitta, you can be one of the two O's, but you can't be both. And I thought, what is he talking about? And he said to me, you can either be old or you can be obese, but you can't be both. And that literally resonated with me. And I played that back in my mind as I was driving home. And I said, you can be old or you can be obese, but you can't be both. And he asked me to visualize someone that I knew that was obese and old. And Sharon, I couldn't think of anyone. And I thought, okay, if I stay on this path that I was on, and I'll be honest with you, I was eating my pain. Like most people, we all have a vice of something. And my addiction at that time in my life was food. It was my drug of choice. And I'll tell you, Sharon, one thing for me that I realize, and to your listeners or those watching, is that you can be addicted to anything. And to me, I felt like the worst drug addiction was food, because unlike anything else, like I can avoid alcohol, I can avoid drugs, I can avoid gambling. But food is something we have to eat every day to nourish our bodies. And so I thought, how do I fix this? So that really first got my attention, was like realizing that I wanted to be here, right? I wanted to be old, but I was obese, and those two usually didn't go hand in hand. So I had to make a choice to change my life.
That is so powerful. I've never heard that. And what an astute doctor you had to put it so bluntly. I mean, I can't even imagine you can be one of the two O's, either obese or old, but not both.
Yeah.
Talk about an aha moment.
It got my attention. And I'll tell you, when I left there, I went home, and I will not lie. Those who are listening probably can relate to this, maybe, is that I stopped by my favorite fast food restaurant and got a few things to go home and cope with the news. So that night I ate my dinner. I took my shower like I always did. And I got out of the shower and I just could not stop crying. I was crying uncontrollably. And the more that I tried to stop crying, I cried more. And I thought, what is it? And it wasn't that I was staring back at that 304-pound woman that I really didn't recognize anymore. That wasn't it. Because, of course, I had saw her before. It wasn't all the rolls looking back at me. It wasn't the excessive weight that I was carrying. It was, I really felt for the first time that I had lost me and I wanted to fight for me. And I just didn't know how to do that, right? The girl who I had lost all those years behind the weight, who stopped taking photos, who would hide herself behind someone else in a picture, trying to just hide what I knew was very much my truth, right? That was my reality then. And so I did what I often had done that I learned from a teenager. My therapist taught me young to write your feelings out. So that night I did something very powerful, and I really recommend anyone doing this. I wrote myself a letter, a love letter. And I literally wrote it to myself as though it was the pep talk that I needed to hear. It was the pep talk that I needed to write. And the letter basically said, girl, we're going to get this together. Like, we don't know what we're going to do, but tomorrow you're going to wake up and you are going to fight for her. Her who has always been there for everyone else, who does so much for everyone, who gives her all. You're going to fight for her. And you're going to decide that this addiction, which again, it was an addiction, you're going to figure out a way to overcome it, and not just overcome it, but to conquer it in a way that is going to show you and the world what happens when you merge strength, determination, and strategy together to fight for your health. And that's what I did. I kept that letter all these years. I actually put it in my book, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, it was the letter I needed to write. So it's kind of like a pep talk that you give yourself. You remind yourself who you are. You remind yourself everything that you have gone through and survived to get to where you are, because we all have a journey. We all have overcome
Right.
some things. And probably during the time we were going through those things, we never thought we would get through them, but we did. And we always will
Yeah.
if we keep going forward and keep pushing.
So that's beautiful. I love the idea of a letter. But let's get back to what was your pain point that led to you gaining the weight to start? Because we all know it's not about the food, really, right? That's a symptom of the root cause. So what was the root cause? Have you been overweight your whole life, or was it something that was progressive?
Great
Tell me how it all
question.
started.
Great question, Sharon. So, like some people, we kind of slowly comes on. I was not overweight as a child. I was very athletic. I played basketball in high school, volleyball, ran track, super, super outgoing, and just all over the place. 143 pounds when I graduated high school, all there. And then life started lifing. And I was working two jobs. I moved out, I was on my own. And at first I thought, this is great. Like, I saw the weight coming on. I thought, this is wonderful. I started to be a little bit voluptuous, in areas I didn't have all of that prior in high school. And then college started. And then I remember just like those long hours. And then, you're hanging out with your girlfriends, and we would go to like, chicken wing Tuesday or Wednesday, and, $1 drinks here and $2 drink there. And so it was my eating habits that began to drastically change. And then, because I come from a family, and this is where it's a little bit hard, I'll say. So in my family, everything is surrounded with food, right? We use food for comfort, for celebration and sad times and joy. And so there was always food, and it was food in abundance, literally family get-togethers like every other weekend, 20, 30 people. And so I didn't even know how to cook small, if you will, because I was used to cooking for like 20, 30 people. So, a big pan
Yeah.
of macaroni and cheese, a big pan of, potato salad and chicken and, you name it. And so I remember like thinking, okay, when I didn't eat, right, when I saw the weight coming on, and I would have my family members to say like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Like, you're not eating. And so it was almost like a bad thing that I wasn't eating a lot, which is kind of odd. But I was the only one in my family that gained weight, which was another pressure that was kind of strange. So
Mm.
while I was gaining, because I was eating a lot, right? Life was lifing, as I said. I was dealing with depression and a few other things that happened in my childhood that I kept avoiding. And I tell people this all the time, and I want your listeners to hear this. You cannot outrun your pain. Trust me, I've tried. And a lot of other people have as well too.
You can't outrun it or out eat it.
Or out eat it. And that's what I was trying to do. You're right, Sharon. I was trying to out eat my pain, and it was becoming a problem. And I remember thinking, why didn't anyone say anything to me? Like, why did my super thin sisters and brothers or, my mom or anyone in my family say anything? Like when I was gaining, like, wow, what was going on? But then I thought, would I have listened? Because these are people who had never had a weight problem, who had never struggled physically with an eating disorder. And then you fast forward when I did begin to lose weight, that's when the questions came, which was odd because it was, wow, are you sick? Are you okay? As though like you couldn't just naturally lose weight. And these were from family members and friends like who expressed concern. And I thought, wait a minute, when I was in the 200-pound club, no one said anything. Then I was in the 250-pound club, no one said anything. And then I was in the 300 plus pound club. No one expressed concern for my health. But then when I decided to lose the weight and change my mindset and learn how to look at food differently and
Yeah.
really address my pain, I started to feel healthy and feel better, but then it was a problem for them, which is very odd sometimes. I guess those who might be listening may understand what I'm saying when I say this is that it was almost as though they had gotten so used to seeing the weight on me, it was uncomfortable seeing the weight not on me, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does make sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I equate it to drinking the same way. I gave up drinking for a while, and I'd go out in social settings and everybody would be drinking and wanting to buy me a drink, and I'd say I'm all set, have a club soda or something. Same response. Why are you not drinking? What's wrong? You
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
And almost what I learned is it's almost a reflection of the other person because they're like, well, if she's doing it, maybe I should do it. Or there's all this like, it's not really about my choice. It's making them uncomfortable for some reason, like you said, that I'm not participating in the behavior,
Correct.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And that's a great example because I remember along my journey, you don't lose 160 pounds, overnight, clearly, right? Life is happening. It actually took me a little over 15 months, which is fairly quick. But and we're talking, years ago when I went through this. And I know now there's a lot of different things that people use that help them along their journey, which I am, whatever's helping everyone that's safe for them, I am all for it. But for myself, that was just exercising 5, 6 days a week. I cut out sodas and juices because I was drinking a lot of my calories. And I have to share this with your listeners, Sharon. I am a believer in you write it down to make it real. Okay. And so when I first started to lose weight, one of the first things I knew I had to do was I had to be accountable for what I was putting in my body because I didn't know a lot at the time, but I knew enough to know it was basic mathematics, right? Clearly, I was eating way more than what my body needed to sustain where it was. And so I began to write down what I was eating, and I was mortified when I did the math, is because I wasn't equating for like that extra bag of M&Ms on the way back to my desk, hanging out in the break room, and it's always someone's birthday. This was back when I worked in a call center, and it's always food everywhere in a call center. So it is like so hard to be disciplined. And so I remember, that extra slice of cake, because it's so and so's birthday, or you're getting invited to someone's baby shower, or there's a wedding. There's always something going on, right? And so
Yeah.
when I did the math, I was taking in 7,000 calories a day. Now, let me say this
Wow.
to those who might go, wow, how did how does one do that? Well, let me tell you. If I go to one of my favorite fast food restaurants and order a combo, and this is back when everything was supersized, right? So you get the big supersized jumbo drink, the big supersized jumbo fries. One combo is almost 3,000 calories, let alone about 75 fat grams, which is like, that's your whole entire day of what you need when you think of an average person taking in about 2,000 calories a day and about 40 to 45 fat grams, right? So here I am, like killing that daily dose in one
Yeah.
meal. So it was easy for me to eat those 7 to 8,000 calories is the quick version of that. And what I really realized why I had to get control of it. And then also my portion sizes were out of control.
Well, I'm fascinated listening to you because you're right. It's so like to me, it like seems like common sense, right? Like you'd know that it's high fat and high calories, but so many of our listeners don't know and they don't understand what they're putting into their bodies and how much it can lead to diabetes and other things, right? Like just you don't even think twice about You just think, hey, I'm hungry. I'm going to have the supersized cheeseburger and fries and the milkshake or whatever. And you're right. I mean, it's fascinating to me that you thought to write it down and really look at it in black and white. Like you
Yes.
needed that tool to
I had to
really.
see it. I literally, if I didn't see it, and I'll equate it to this, because I think maybe some people can understand this or relate to this. I had to put myself on a body budget. I had to pay back the body debt that I had incurred for all those years of overeating and overspending. So if you think of, if we right now wanted to take advantage and take control of our finances, right? And we wanted to pay back debt we had incurred. I was excessively charging my body credit card every day to get to 304 pounds, right? So by writing it down, I realized, wait, I have to be on a budget. And so if I have to be on a daily body budget, meaning the caloric value I was taking in every day and the fat grams, those are my two numbers. I know some people pay attention to sodium intake and, the carbs and all that. My two main numbers was calories and fat gram. And if I stayed within that formula and I managed that budget throughout the day, it was amazing how the weight just began to come off because I wasn't excessively spending. The body debt was being paid back. And how it was being paid back was I was not overspending each day by eating a certain amount. And then I was exercising to reduce the debt, right? Because movement is what's amazing. And I want to say this. At 304 pounds, I was embarrassed to go to the gym. I'll be honest. Even as confident as I might appear on this, live with you, I was a little embarrassed. And so I thought, you know what? Exercise is not just in a gym because a lot of people might have a gym membership and just having a gym membership doesn't do anything to you if you don't use it, right? So I thought, okay, I don't have to go to the gym because I'm not ready for the gym yet, but I know movement is what's important. So in my living room, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week for the first 3 months, I danced like it was nobody's business. I turned on my favorite music and I pretended I was the best backup dancer, singer that you can ever imagine. And I lost 33 pounds doing that in the first 3 months because it was the movement. It was the combination of the body debt formula, paying it back, right? And not overeating each day, accountability. And it was the determination that on the days when I woke up, even though I was tired, I thought, if I don't get this workout done first, it's not going to happen because that's how my life was set up, right? You got to work with what your life is. And if you're a morning person and you're like, you know what, if I just knock it out, then it's done, great. Or if you're the kind of person that says, nope, I'd rather do it in the evening because, that just works for my body clock. Wonderful, do it. Doesn't matter the time. Whatever's right for you is right for your situation and is going to help you be the most successful. Don't follow anybody else's plan if that plan doesn't work for your lifestyle. So for me,
Yeah.
mine was just moving.
I I just love though, I love the analogy of the body budget. Like, I love that term and the whole it's just it puts it makes so much sense to me,
Correct.
right? Like, calories in, calories out, you have
Yeah.
to keep it balanced.
Yeah. And I'll
Yeah,
tell you real quick, this is because remember 15 months, let's just imagine 15 months of your life, right? And 15 months, there's going to be birthdays, holidays,
yeah.
weddings, special events, work functions, all these different things are happening. So you're going to attend events where there's food. And so what I would do, let's just pretend this coming weekend, I'm going to go to a wedding, right? And so I've
Well,
already got
Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving,
yeah,
right?
let's
Or Thanksgiving coming up. So I know, okay, I'm going to want to eat really good on Thanksgiving, right? Like most of us do. So I would plan accordingly. So I may just really be super conscious of of what I'm eating Monday and Tuesday, right? I do my workout. I watch what I eat the day of because I have my budget that I want to be conscious of, right? So I might just have a lighter breakfast or I might fast and skip breakfast and then have my first meal. Let's say I break my fast, be like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock because then I know I'm going to have dinner that evening and I would budget my calories accordingly. It'd be no different if you and I went to the mall and we were like, okay, we know we can only spend, $1,000 on this shopping spree or $500. Well, we can't overspend, right? So we have to use our money wisely. So I might use this snack versus this snack or this entree versus this, or if I have a saying, whenever eating out, take half of it out. So that way you don't, if you're unsure of the calories, like you just cut your portion in half, at least you can enjoy your favorite meal and either you make a friend and you give them the other portion when it comes to the table, or you take the other part home and now you have lunch or another option to eat the next day, right? Because you have to pay for the whole meal. They're not going to like discount the meal unless you get like the smaller portion if that's available, at the different options. But yeah, the body budget mentality helped me tremendously because I kept thinking, I got to get out of debt. Like I'm in debt. I'm in debt. How do I get out?
I love that. I love that. So, did you go see a nutritionist? Did you have help and support along the way, or did you just strong arm it and say, I made the decision and I'm gonna do this alone? How did you move forward?
So I'll say this, they say when you fail to plan, you're planning to fail, right? So that is a very true statement. So I think everyone should have a plan, whatever that plan is, and to strategize to maximize what you're doing. So I am a
Right.
research junkie. I will absolutely admit that hands down. I've researched probably everything you can imagine when it came to food. And by that, I meant because I was cognitive and I was on a budget, I wanted to know the caloric value of everything. I knew the caloric value of a slice of bread versus a medium sized banana versus like a chicken leg versus a chicken breast. Like I knew that because I was so cognitive of the numbers, right? And the thing about it, I tell people all the time, this is not rocket science, it's basic mathematics. Like literally losing weight is basic mathematics, but it's also understanding how your body works. So I will say that because there are genetic things occurring as well too, but it's really basic mathematics. And by that, if you've never watched the episode of Naked and Afraid, you will see that when they are calorie deficient, it's a real thing that happens, right? Like the weight
Yeah.
comes off. And so, but you don't want to be, and the reason I researched, and let me say this to listeners, I researched because I wanted to understand calories in, calories out, but I also wanted to understand to make sure I wasn't deficient in anything because certain deficiencies can cause things that are irreversible. And let me say this, there are certain deficiencies when you take so many different things out, as far as vitamin, nutrients, and all that, that could cause you to be blind. And that's irreversible. So like I knew enough to know that I didn't want to be deficient in certain important nutrients, but I also needed to understand what I was taking in and the appropriate amount I should be. Really, really, really advise all of those who are thinking to make the shift. And it is a shift, right? It is a pivotal point in your life when you decide, if you decide, and when you decide, whether it's New Year's resolution or just because you woke up, it was Tuesday and you were like, listen, Testimony Tuesday, I'm changing my life today. However you want to do it, start by starting. That is what I tell everybody with anything. I said, start by starting, not on anybody else's schedule, but on your schedule, but absolutely have a plan. Like figure out. And if you're not a research junkie like myself and you're not sure what to follow, there are some good information out there, different books, mine in particular, which I
Yes.
know we'll plug in a little bit, but it's a guide
No.
that just
Yeah.
really so that you can understand the basic mathematics and also understand how to eat out. Like we're going to eat out. We're going to go to family and friends' house. Like I didn't want to be the crazy one who was like sitting in the corner, like, no, I'm just going to pop my carrots and my celery, because then you will be looked at kind of strange. But I'm not going to say I didn't get the looks and I didn't get the pushback because to your point earlier, Sharon, when you decide to stand for something, all of a sudden now it makes everybody else feel a little bit insecure or like second guess why they do something when that's not even the goal, right? The goal isn't that I now stand for this because I want you to now inspect what you're expecting, right, of me. But it's more so this is what works for me. Like when
Right.
part of my research, I learned I became a vegan. So let me just throw that out, full disclosure. I was a vegan for 5 years, but it wasn't like an overnight thing. It happened in the research because I thought, wait a minute, I could eat a regular burger and it's this many calories and a vegan burger and it's this many calories and I can cut my calories in a third and make it taste good. Wait a minute. Remember my mentality, basic mathematics. So I
Right.
learned how to slowly take meat out of my diet and substitute. Because remember, I'm all about not being deficient. So I did it in stages. First, I cut out red meat. Then I cut out chicken. Then I cut out dairy and seafood. And I remember people asking me, like, oh my God, how did you do that? Like, I'm like, well, I had to learn how to cook all over again because clearly animal fat has flavor in it and soy doesn't, right? So you had
Yeah.
to put a lot of seasonings and
That's
learn how to
different.
cook it different ways. But it worked for me. And I didn't become vegan until I had already lost about 75 pounds, 70, 75 pounds. So I can't equate the total weight loss to that, but I will say that it helped. But let me also say this. You can overeat anything because 15 bananas is not good for anybody but a gorilla. And so I tell people, like, don't think you can't be overweight and be a vegan because you can't, because you can overeat anything. So let's just be real
Yeah,
clear on that. Portion
absolutely.
is
Yeah.
still important when it comes to, deciding how much is going in and how much movement is going out, like what you're doing active wise. Yeah. So,
So another this is amazing information. Another thing that's coming up for me though is we said in the beginning that the eating was just part of a symptom and not the root cause. So you were eating for comfort, you were eating to mask something that was going on internally. So did you also find that you needed help with what was happening internally to help you stop with the eating?
yeah.
Because I'm wondering if you went to food for comfort, what and you started to shift that, what replaced it, if anything?
Yes, great question. So let me say this, you can swap one addiction for another. And this is why it's so
Mhm.
important to make sure that when you get to the root, or you think you've gotten to the root of why you're doing what you're doing, that you really go back to understand so that you can connect the dots so you don't swap one for another. And because I did that, remember, food was my drug of choice. And so I lost 160 pounds, right? Actually, 161 pounds to be exact. And that meant I had to buy an entire new wardrobe. So let's just process that for a second. Everything from undergarments to, pants and shirts. I mean, that's a whole person that I lost, right? A whole full grown adult. And so then my addiction became shopping. I mean, like, to the point of where, like, I remember turning one of the guest bedrooms in my house at the time that had a walk-in closet. I turned the entire guest bedroom into a walk-in closet, right? And I remember coming home one day from the mall with my sister, and we were hanging up, the garments that I bought. And she just shook her head and she turned around at me. She says, "You need help." I said, "What are you talking about?" I had the identical dress in the closet, still with the tag on, that I had just bought, the identical dress now with the tag on. And she's helping me put it away. And she's just looking through my closet and she's like, "Listen, this is a problem. And, like, you got to figure this out." And so I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" So yeah, so then it switched to, I thought, okay, I gotta get a hold of this. She's right. Like, my closet's out of control. It was to the point I had a clipboard on the back of the closet where my sister and my mom and my girlfriends used to come and check out stuff. Like, they're like, "This is a boutique in your house and you're not gonna wear it all." And so, like, it was bad. Okay. Totally admit that. Then it went from, okay, well, I'm not going to shop like that anymore. Then it went to drinking. So then I'm excessively hanging out and I'm like, wait a minute, I must be drinking my calories. Remember, I do mathematics. So this is not working for me. If I'm drinking all my calories, then that means I don't have anything left to eat. So then, like, what's happening to my body? So then it swapped back to shopping, and then it swapped back to eating until I got real. I know I mentioned earlier that my therapist from teenage years, taught me about journaling. So I remember thinking, I have to talk to someone. And I have a indicator that I use for myself. And I've used this since I was probably 19. As women, and I'll just say this, we are all super powerful. We are amazing creatures. I feel like we can overcome anything. The way God has created us is unbelievable, with our ability to bounce back from anything. When I can't bounce back, like when I can't wake up in the morning and think myself okay, like no matter how much I'm like, yes, I'm giving myself pep talks and I'm saying affirmations, and I still feel empty, I know it's time to talk to someone, because it's bigger than what I'm able to physically and mentally will myself out of. And so I had gotten to the point in my life when I said, I can't outrun my pain, as we said earlier. I've tried. I can't out eat it. I can't out shop it, and I cannot out drink it. It's time to go back to what I know works, which is therapy. I said, there's two things in life I'm super grateful for: therapy and Jesus. Those are the two things that I will
Wow.
forever be grateful for, because I would not be Mylitta Butler that you're speaking with today had I not. And so I had an amazing therapist at the time who, like my doctor, who got real with me and who was straight up about that whole, you could be one of the two O's. My therapist said to me, you can either keep pretending or we can actually get real about healing. Which one do you want? And I wanted to get real about healing. I really wanted to feel whole again, and I didn't want it to be temporary. And so I encourage anybody, if you are continuing to run away from the thing that still haunts you, I call it that deafening silent moment, where a lot of times we try to stay super busy so that we don't have to deal with the silence because it's so loud, because it's those voices, it's those memories, it's that trauma. that we have experienced that we have compartmentalized and we stick it in our pocket, we move
Yeah.
on, we pretend it didn't happen. And then we're
Mhm.
like, wait, still popping up. And it never pops up at the most convenient time.
I wanna thank you for your vulnerability in sharing that because I think it's so important that people understand that we, A, can't do it alone. If we need help, ask for help. It's not anything to be ashamed of. As a matter of fact, it takes a lot of bravery to ask for help and to say, "I need that support." And I used to call my little devil, I called it dancing with demons when those negative voices would come into my head and we do a
Mm,
little dance. Not listening to you, I am listening to you, and so we all have it and mine shows up differently than others people's, but that was my name for it when I was going through
wow.
difficult. So I was dancing with my demons.
Yeah, and we all
Yeah,
have them, and that's the thing, and as you say, it's acknowledging that, and some of us are started in childhood. I know for me, myself, mine did, and it
yeah,
was one of my survival techniques that I learned from a young age to protect myself, which is to compartmentalize, to press it down, to keep going, to keep moving. It's probably one of
yeah,
the reasons why I was such an overachiever because I wanted to just, like, do anything but acknowledge what was real and what was going on at home. And so then I was able to dive into school and over excel in sports and all the different aspects in the community. And so we're human and we're here on
yeah.
earth and for a short period of time and we all deserve to feel happiness, right? And I'm not saying we won't experience all of the natural human emotion, of course, sadness, happiness, fear, joy, all those different things. But again, I'll go back to my point. If you keep waking up and you can't think yourself okay. To your point, Sharon, it's okay to ask for help. It's actually a very brave and powerful
Yeah,
gesture that you would go and want to get better. It's kind of like not going to the dentist or to the doctor for our physical health, right? Mental health is the true wealth. Good mental health is the true
right,
wealth because when we're not mentally okay, I don't care how much money you have in the bank, the size house you live in, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, you will still feel empty and not
right,
whole if your mental wellness is not in check. And so I
yeah.
highly encourage those who are struggling to reach out for help. And there's so many different options now. You don't even have to physically go in to see a therapist like back in the day when we joke about, say, I've laid on enough couches in my day, just be my joke. And it's so funny. So I have to say this as a Black woman, I have to say this because a lot of times in the Black community, unfortunately, it's still a stigma about mental health to the point of where they think that is not, you're supposed to just shake it off, you're supposed to just be okay. And I'm like, no, it's not. We're all built the same, meaning we're human, we have brains, like, we have emotions, things. And so it is
Yeah,
not just a race or color specific thing. It is a human thing that we should all be okay with going to seek assistance and want to feel better. And sometimes that feel better might be verbal conversations along with daily affirmations and medication. And that's not a bad thing either. It's like a chemical imbalance, right? Like that would be like, and I'll joke and I'll use this analogy real quick. When I was in between ninth and 10th grade, remember I mentioned earlier, I played sports. I played volleyball, basketball, I ran track, all of that. Between ninth and 10th grade, my boobs started to grow. And I was mortified because I did not want
Oh,
boobs. That was the last thing as an athlete who
oh,
had my timing down perfect, at the net, especially in volleyball. I did not want boobs. So I remember staring in the mirror one night, like after a shower, like, stop growing. And I'm literally like yelling at my boobs in the mirror, right? Like, stop growing. And so, because, we had just taped them back prior to a volleyball game, like we're using like literally like sports medicine tapes, one size smaller sports bra, like literally trying to make them disappear. Right. So I remember staring in the mirror, like in the mirror, like stop growing. And I thought, wait a minute, you can't compete with hormones. It's like, how do you, I mean, sometimes it's a chemical. So that's like hormonal. Sometimes our
right,
imbalance of what we're mentally feeling is hormonal. It is something
right.
that you're not going so this is when, like I said earlier, like when I realized like I can't think myself okay, something's going on inside of my body that I need some help with. So I say all that to
Exactly.
say, please don't look at it as a bad thing because it is a good thing because it is just like a natural thing that's occurring in our bodies. My son's a teenager right now. Like there's no way I'm going to stop. I can't fight with the hormones that are happening right now. It's naturally occurring. And so I just roll with it and I think, okay, well this is what it is. And so same thing in your life. Sometimes you might be at a point where you acknowledge this is what it is, and a little bit of assistance
Yeah.
can help it. And then same thing too. I'll say this real quick. I didn't realize the food I was eating played into my emotional state too. So it wasn't that just the weight was heavy, right? Because clearly carrying. I mean, I tell somebody if you want to know what it feels like to carry an extra 50 pounds, let alone an extra 160 pounds, put on a book bag filled with just like canned goods, right? And walk around with that backpack for like 2 hours. You'll be in such a different mood. You'll be like, oh, like annoyed, agitated, because it's weighing on the body, which then affects the
Yeah.
mind, right? But the type of food that I was eating was packed with so many chemicals and things that was just working against my healthy psyche, if you will, that it was causing me just to feel tired all the time, which was so weird because when you're tired, you just want to sleep. And when you want to sleep all the time, you're even more sleepy and then you want to do anything and then you have no motivation and then it's just like a snowball effect, right? So
Well,
it's just realizing all of that, how it was connected, helped me mentally feel better, physically feel better, and emotionally feel better because the weight was heavy, not just physically, but in all the other areas as well too.
so you lost 161 pounds. Did you have a goal weight that you were trying to achieve or
Love that you asked this question because I have to admit, full transparency, I did not have a goal initially. This is what I said because I'm a visual person. I learned this young, thank God, because I was like, this is why I write everything down because then I can retain it, right? So I did not have a number. I had this vision of what healthy looked like. Like, for instance, I remember putting up like a picture of myself, from years prior. And I'm like, okay, there's healthy. I'm going to walk towards healthy, right? Like that's all my vision was. Like I wanted to feel better because I knew how I felt was not how I wanted to continue to feel. I knew that much. So I began, but remember I said earlier, you can be addicted to anything because then I became addicted to keep losing. And so honestly, 161-pound weight loss at my height, I'm 5'10", was too small. Like you could see my ribs. You could I had literally went probably about 6 exit past when I should have gotten off, right? Like I literally should have switched to maintenance mode prior and I didn't. So then what happened was, I had to reassess because there is a natural range that which we don't realize our body likes to be at where it feels comfortable, where you are in that zone. And so I did something that most people I would never do. I intentionally gained back 30 pounds because 170 is really where I feel the healthiest, like where my body feels amazing, where I started running saved my life. I forgot to tell you that part. So remember, I was ashamed to go to the gym. But then I caught the runner's bug. Like I'd never ran long distance in my life. I mentioned I ran track in high school, but those were I was a sprinter, a 50-yard, 100-yard dash, like boom, 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 get get to the finish line and go home. I caught the runner's bug. I ran in my first 5K around the 70-pound loss mark. And I say run because I didn't run technically, I was walking, but I was so proud that I had
yeah.
walked 3.1 miles at a good pace to where I crossed the finish line and I was hooked. I went K, half marathon, and then I ran my first
Wow.
marathon, Disney full marathon. And you couldn't tell
Yay.
me anything then. Like I was like, these are my people, right? Like
I love
and
that.
running saved my life because it became a challenge because I'm one of those people, listen, if I pay my money, I'm going. Like, I mean, if I entered the race and I signed up and I paid my $50 and to get my t-shirt and my bib or whatever it is, like I am going to the race. And so
Yeah.
that was fun. And it also, I met some of the most amazing people who, same thing, running is just become such a part of their life and their
Yeah.
community, and they travel all over the world entering races, half marathons, full marathons. I'm done triathlon because I'm the swimming and the bike part is just a little too much for me. So, but I love doing that. But it was one of the things that I realized that so when I gained back the good healthy 30 pounds, right? I needed to get those 30 pounds back, but I did it smart, increase my protein, just different things like that. Like I wasn't like, oh, let's just go like get on the cheeseburgers again because like
Take it
I
easy.
yeah, right. Because I was cognitive enough. And let me say this. can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I had to develop a different relationship with food. I had to stop living to eat and I had to start eating to live. And that's a different relationship. That's a different mindset and I also had to stop thinking like the man-made routines that we're in. And by that, what I mean is breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right, is more of a man-made tradition that we've created. I went back to the way God had intended us to eat. When we were born, we ate every 2 to 3 hours, little portions. Our body took the nutrients it needed and got rid of the waste. Then every 2, 3 hours again, we eat again. And then even as we got older, our bodies still wanted to eat like that. But then we threw in the breakfast, lunch, dinner routine, sometimes skip breakfast, bigger dinner, like all these different ways that man and traditions have caused us to eat unhealthy, right? And so for me, when I started to learn smaller portion sizes, I had to visually trick myself. Like I stopped pulling out a regular size plate. I would use a saucer, like literally a like salad plate to make my
Yeah.
regular meals on because I needed to feel the real portion sizes that I should have had actually looked more
Yeah.
than they were because I didn't need that big old ginormous plate because then we usually try to fill it up, right? So
Right.
that was part of the retraining and the shift. And unless we shift, we'll stay exactly where we are. So I had to shift, and the shift is not just a 1 day, a 2 day. Like I had to figure out for me, how could I do this for life? Like, and I'll tell anybody, listen, I don't eat diet anything. Like I don't eat, like if I want a cookie, just give me one regular cookie. Then instead of giving me like 3 or 4, no, like the diet
For
cookie, whatever.
free.
Like, yeah, no, like I'm good. Like if I'm going to do it, I want to do it. I just will not eat the whole entire box of cookies like I used to. Like, so,
Exactly.
it's choices, but it's also just what can you live with long term? See, I tell them all the time, listen, I could get 50 pounds off you, no problem. Like I could give you the tools, the formula, what to eat, how to eat, like that's no problem. But could you maintain it? See, like the
Right.
whole thing is one thing to attain it, but it's another thing to maintain it. And how you maintain it is making sure that the choices that you're making is something that you could do long term. And don't lie to yourself. Because if you say you're not going to eat cookies or carbs or ice cream, well, for how long? Like, that's not real. Where's that world at? Make a dream.
Exactly.
Who lives in that world? Because then we lie to ourselves and then we don't help ourselves by doing that because we want to create a new reality, but a reality that we're not miserable in. Like that's not life. Food is amazing. Like if you've had an opportunity to travel or just eat different, cultures, foods, or experiment yourself, like I love food. Like I'm glad that that's something we get to enjoy. It's fun. Not only is it fun, it just makes us feel good. It is comfort, right? And I had to understand that that's not a bad thing that I still love food. Like I'll claim to be a foodie to the day I die. Like I love food. Like I would not be honest with anyone if I said that. No, I do. I love food. I love the
Yeah.
presentation of it. I love the whole preparation of it. I love the experience. I love what it does for the human experience. It connects us, right? Like we can use food for different ways to create experiences. And so
Yeah.
that's not the bad part. The bad part is for me was how I was using it as a coping mechanism and how I was just excessively filling my body as though I was never going to eat again. As though like this was like the whole like
Well, yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
together.
Well,
Like
but
we're
I
like
love
where's the
I
next
think
meal
that's
coming
great.
from when it's like in the refrigerator? It's not like it's down the street. It's not like we literally weren't sure when the next meal was coming from.
But I think it's great for our listeners to understand, like, you didn't shift and just start eating lettuce all day long.
No.
You appreciate food and you appreciate, having nice meals. You've just made a shift in how much and the type of maybe a little bit. And, yeah,
And the time of
so
day. Like I stopped eating at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. every night. And like my ice cream ritual I had an ice cream ritual, which was not good at all. Like I had a special ice cream bowl. Sharon, I kid you not. I had ice cream. And this is when I knew I had a problem. This probably was a week before that doctor's appointment when he got real with me. I have to share this with you because it was hilarious. So I will not forget this as long as I live. I had an ice cream ritual every night. I would take my favorite ice cream. I put it in my ice cream bowl. I would put whipped cream on top of it, but it gets better. Then I would put cookies around the top part of the bowl. and I would sit and enjoy and just watch my favorite show. And that would be my nightly ritual. So I go to the grocery store to get my, re up on my supply of my ice cream. And I'm standing in the ice cream aisle and I'm like, oh my God, like, where's my ice cream? Like, it's not here. So I literally go and I see this gentleman stocking, something nearby. And I say, excuse me, where's your cherry cheesecake ice cream? Because I don't see it. He goes, we don't carry it anymore. You would have thought like he had said to me, like, ma'am, like he had insulted me. I said, what? I said, pardon you? I said, clearly you're confused because you need to go in the back. Why did I go up to the front desk and ask for a manager as though this was like I was mortified? And the guy, this is hard. He probably was 21 years old, 20 years old. He looks at me like, oh my God, this lady is losing it in the ice cream aisle because we're out of, and I'm telling the manager, you need to call another Publix because like, this is unheard. This is unheard of. This is absurd. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I remember leaving there like, did I just have a meltdown because they're out of my ice cream? I'm like, that's a problem. Like, that's probably not good. Yeah. And
I'm
so,
sorry. I love that.
yeah. And I had to stop that ice cream ritual. Not that I don't eat ice cream, Sharon, because I do. It's just not a nightly thing. It's not 9:30, 10
Yes.
o'clock at night. If I have a craving for something, and I'll share this because it's mathematics. Remember, if I have a craving for something, a slice of pizza, some ice cream, or a piece of cake, I try to have it like by 2 p.m. because then mathematically it gives me more time to burn that off than at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., right? Because then I'm going to sleep. So I just, I give into the craving. I just really am more cognitive of the time and the portion. Yeah, but I eat real food.
Yeah.
Trust me when I tell you that. Like, I love real food.
That's awesome. All right. You need to share your book before we run out of time. So please tell us.
Yeah, so my book, for those that are listening and watching, is Slim Down, Level Up. And the reason I use slim down is because I did slim down, but the level up part is the leveling up to understanding my self-love, self-awareness, and also all about me leveling up, understanding that I deserve to be happy. I deserved to put amazing things in my body that would make me not only look good, but feel good. And with that, I leveled up so much awareness and so much appreciation for the wonderful thing that we get to do. We're not bears, we don't eat one meal and hibernate, but we're humans, right? The human experience, which is so fun because then we get to go through all of those different motions. In the book, I teach you how to eat out successfully, how to cook at home more successfully, how to make your portions, as well as I give you an entire index in the back of the book that gives you the caloric value of almost every fruit, vegetable, meat, protein, all these different things, so that when you are calculating your body budget, when you do decide to pay back your body debt, you will have a reference guide to be able to back at, as well as I reference different diets in there because I combined like multiple ones together to get to the right formula for me. Remember, not one size fits all. So Slim Down, Level Up, it's available on Amazon as well in Barnes and Noble. They're Mylitta Butler. And so it was an exciting time. I share in there about getting real with myself with the doctor. I share my love letter that I mentioned earlier that I wrote to myself that was needed and was really just the letter I needed to hear and needed to write. And I also share tips and tools on how to make the shift and going in the right direction, which is fighting for yourself and your health, because the really, really, really most important thing is health, mental health and physical health. And that's what makes
Okay, because our listeners can't see it, the book cover, can you show that to me one more time? Was that a picture of you before and after?
correct. At my heaviest and then at my smallest. Yes.
Wow.
So 304 pounds down to 143 pounds.
My gosh, my lady, you don't even look like the same person.
I told you
Well,
I lost a whole entire person, which a lot of people don't realize that. Now you can see why I cried so hard that night coming out the shower, because I looked in the mirror and I did not recognize who I was. I had lost her in
yeah.
all that weight.
I could talk to you all day. I know we have to wrap up, but I have so many questions. Were you treated differently when you were one size versus the other?
Yes.
Did you find society treated you differently?
Yes, they do. They have a different stigma. And I'll say this, when you are heavier, unfortunately, the world puts a label on you as though you're lazy, as though you lack motivation or discipline. And that's what was so crazy about myself. I was an overachiever in every other aspect of my life. You talking about All-American this, president of that, employee of the year month, like literally moving up in the corporate ladder. doing all these different things. However, I know that had I not been that size, I feel my journey would have even accelerated faster because I
Mm.
wouldn't have had the stigma and I wouldn't have been looked at as though I was someone who lacked discipline or control. And then when I lost the weight, it was amazing how I felt like I was seen more. I was listened to more. I was valued more because I was a certain size. And it's really sad. Unfortunately, we are perceived on how we look. And regardless of how we feel about that, it is the reality of this world we live in. It's why I have a saying, I said, dress how you want to be addressed. And so even though even at that size, I still made sure that every day I put my best foot forward. I tried to present myself, the best that I could, even at that size. But I also was very aware of the stigma associated with it. And that was hard.
Well, two things. One, it's fascinating because I think something like 70% of Americans are considered obese. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's pretty high.
Yes.
So that's fascinating. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up that was interesting earlier on in our conversation was you said your sister confronted you about your shopping addiction, but wouldn't say anything to you about your food addiction. So that was interesting to me, how one is okay, but the other's not.
Correct.
And then the other thing that I find interesting is I wonder too, like how it's one thing how society treated you, but I wonder how you felt in your different body types. I wonder, were you feeling stronger, more powerful as a slimmer woman? Like, did you have a different feeling about yourself?
Great question. I will say this. I suffered from body dysmorphia when I was losing the
Yeah.
weight because it was really hard for me to see myself small, even when I was smaller and I was getting smaller.
Yeah.
So when I went shopping, there were a few instances where I went shopping. And one time in particular, my sister was with me, one of my girlfriends, and I kept picking up the larger sizes. And they're like, what are you doing? You can't wear that. You're going to drown in that because I still saw myself bigger. And so there were times when they had to kind of say to me, like, you need to like look for a smaller size, you're smaller, or you don't realize how small you are, or, you've lost so much weight, you're too thin or, things like that. So there were times when it wasn't so much that I felt either more powerful or less powerful. It was trying to connect my current state with where my body was versus where I had still saw myself. So I still saw
Right.
myself bigger and heavier. And like, I still was so cognitive of everything that I put on. And I still would even almost hide in photos because that's what I was doing for so long, right? Like trying to put half
Yeah.
my body behind the person in front of me. And so it did
Interesting.
take an adjustment. I will say I lost some friends along the way, which is so odd because I wouldn't, to your point earlier, because I wasn't going to like chicken wing, Wednesday and eating all the cheese fries and going to the happy hour. And I just said, I'm not strong enough yet, guys. Like until I can build up my strength and being out and not be tempted, I'm just going to like pass on this one. And it got to the point where it was almost like, well, she thinks she's better than us. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not. I'm still the same me. I just literally need to remove as much temptation as I was strengthening my will around food
You're
and changing my relationship with food and how
right.
I would experience the day-to-day activities. Yeah. So it was
It's
interesting.
a fascinating social experiment, though, for sure.
It
All right, we're
was
going to end it. Promised you we would. So let's do some speed round questions. Number one, finish the sentence. Joy is.
joy is feeling whole and
Okay,
happy.
I love that. All right, number two, what's the one food you love that fits into your healthy lifestyle?
I'm a carbs girl, so pasta is my girl.
All right, I love it. What's your favorite way to hang with friends that doesn't revolve around eating?
It's one of my other addictions, which is shopping or fashion. Anything fashion related. Fashion and philanthropy usually go hand in hand for me with friends.
I love shopping and fashion. What's one temptation you've learned to handle gracefully without feeling deprived?
Sweets. Sweets are my
Sweets.
weakness. And so I look for the smaller Hershey bar versus the full one, or, the smaller pack of Reese's than the king size one that I would.
That's so funny. The little bag of peanut M&Ms.
Yeah.
What's a small New Year habit anyone can adopt today to feel more connected to themselves or others?
Each day, start with a daily affirmation and write it down and say it out loud of why you deserve to be healthy and happy. Start with that. Start with that. And the rest of it, they'll figure out.
It'll follow. I love that. Well, Mylitta, thank you for such a powerful conversation. Your story reminds us that real change isn't about punishment, it's about permission. Permission to take care of ourselves, to show up differently, and to discover joy in places we once avoided. So, for today's joyful act for our listeners, something aligned with Mylitta's journey, try this. Make one nourishing choice for your body today that also feels good for your soul. Maybe it's a walk with someone you love. Maybe it's replacing guilt with gratitude before a meal. Maybe it's eating something colorful that you actually enjoy, not endure. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. And small, joyful choices done consistently can transform your entire year. Thanks,
Yes.
Mylitta.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sharon. I've enjoyed our time together, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Same to you. And we'll do this again because I know we have more to talk about.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.